So I've been using the Insta360 Go 3S and the X4 since last fall, primarily as behind the scenes cameras to capture additional video footage. This video is going to be my thoughts as a photographer using these cameras. First, a shout out to Insta360 for sending me these cameras and some accessories. While they did send me this gear, they didn't tell me what to say, give me some bullet points to talk about, or review this video before it went live. This is going to be my honest thoughts and what I thought about these cameras. So I'm going to split this into two videos. This video is going to be on the Go 3S. That being said, make sure you're subscribed and let's get into it. So like we said, this camera is the Insta360 Go 3S. It is a compact action camera. And this is a pretty unique camera. It's two parts comprised of the actual camera itself, which is this pill shape, and the action pod, which the pill sits into. To talk about the form factor and some specs, this is your pretty standard action camera form factor. It's very similar to a GoPro, but with that game-changing twist of the pop-out camera. It's got a 16mm lens, a 2.2-inch back screen, which also flips up. The pill is actually waterproof up to about 30 meters, I believe. The base or action pod is not. It's got a USB-C port, 128 gigabytes of internal memory. It doesn't have any options for an expandable memory like an SD card. And both pieces, the camera and the action pod, only have an internal battery. So this is a pretty light camera. The camera itself weighs about 40 grams, which is pretty wild. The action pod weighs in at 87 grams, and together they weigh just under 130 grams. On paper, the battery life of just the camera itself is technically 38 minutes, and when the camera is in the action pod, you're looking at about 140 minutes. This camera does have a bunch of video options. Largely as a whole, if you are using this camera for as just straight up recording video or time-lapse, this will export 4K video. And one pretty cool feature that I had no idea existed on non-Apple products, this has Apple's Find My integrated into it. So you can actually use your iPhone to find this device. So this camera comes with a few accessories. The first being a pivot stand, and it basically magnetically connects to the bottom of this camera, pops right on, and then these metal clamps lock it into place. The pivot stand connects to a ball head with a 1/4-inch input. So it gives you a lot of options there. The next being this magnetic pendant, a necklace that you can just pop right on and you can adjust it. And this allows you to connect the camera in pill form straight to your chest. You can mount it in vertical or horizontal mode. The hack is to put this on the inside of your shirt and then attach your camera to it so that it doesn't flap around as much if you're walking around. And last, we have the easy clip. So this primarily works well on a hat. Take this clip, pop it onto the brim of your hat, and then you can just pop your camera right into it, and now you have a head mount. The only thing is with the hat is that if you do it like this, it's going to record in a horizontal mode. Honestly, I think it's pretty cool that Insta360 includes these accessories. I find all of them to be extremely useful. I found that I didn't need any additional accessories with this camera. I'm not saying there aren't accessories out there that would change the game. I just found that the necklace pendant, the hat clip, the pivot stand, all of those I used a ton. I didn't use one necessarily more than the other. They all are extremely useful. They really made it so that I could just get the shots that I wanted to get. I didn't use any selfie sticks or anything like that. I found that all the accessories that they include were enough to give me the perfect POV shots that I need, fixed overhead shots, fixed angle shots, anything like that. So let's talk about how I actually used this camera in the past couple months. This is just a great camera for POV footage. Insta360 makes it really easy to do this because they include those accessories out of the box. You could just snap the camera in pill form right on your chest using the necklace mount or the easy clip on your hat, and you're taking POV footage with just literally pressing a button. I use this a ton for street photography in New York City. Basically, anytime I am bringing my GFX and I'm headed somewhere specifically for photography, I'm bringing this camera. And in terms of content creation, I use this camera to capture some POV footage in both day and nighttime scenes when I was creating some content for the Polar Pro 135 series filter drop. And of course, when I was testing out the GFX 100 RF, I always brought this camera with me. And what was really nice in that scenario is the GFX 100 RF is an ultra small compact GFX camera, and I could just bring this camera with me and put it all in a 2-liter sling and still travel really light and compact, or even put it in my pocket. I carry this camera in my pocket all the time. I also brought this camera when I went to Summit One recently. That's obviously a local trip for me in New York City, but my main focus on that trip was to pack the certain lenses. I brought a GF 500mm lens, and I brought my wide 20-35mm lens. My main focus for that trip was photography, and of course, getting those cameras through security. And the camera for behind the scenes obviously needed to be small. It was a great fit. I also brought this camera hiking. So recently we went to Mount Beacon, kind of right outside of New York City. We were going to do a 3 to 4 hour hike with some pretty decent elevation. So obviously I wanted to keep my bag as light as possible because I also needed things like snacks and water and of course a tripod. So your bag gets heavy pretty quick. So this camera, of course, super light, pack it right in the bag, put on the necklace pendant, pop it right on. I'm recording B-roll with just press of a button. I even used footage from this camera for a mid-roll ad I did a while back for a company called V-Flat World. I wanted to do an in-studio POV perspective, and obviously this camera just made it super easy to do that. And the other way that I primarily use this camera is a fixed view on a tripod or some sort of stand. Speaking of studio work, pretty much every time I went to my studio to do some photography, at the very minimum, I brought this camera with me. Can't say I always had the time to set it up, although setting it up is a pretty simple thing. Sometimes I just ran out of stands if I was doing something pretty crazy. But this camera is absolutely awesome to use in the studio. So recently we just did a 5-scene photo shoot for a candle product drop. And for 3 of those scenes, it was a collage lifestyle themed kind of shoot. For each of them, we did an overhead boom stand, mounted the camera right to it on the pivot stand, and did a long time lapse. For all of these shoots, I did mount it in the action cam on time lapse mode just to get the longest amount of time lapse that it could. The flip out screen makes it really easy to just frame up your shot real quick and see if it's crooked and readjust it. And to briefly talk about post-production, unlike the X4, which requires a specific app if you want to edit the footage in Premiere, or to use a specific Insta360 360 app to cut and reframe the footage. The Go 3S will give you video files that you pretty much would expect from any sort of standard camera. Some general notes for this camera. As someone who is primarily a photographer first, I would say this camera is very plug and play. You basically set it up and press the button. There's really only a few settings that I ever change. I bump the EV or exposure compensation up or down depending on if it's a really bright day or if it's really dark at night. Other than that, the modes on this are really easy to change between. And like I mentioned, I'm pretty much just using straight video or time lapse. When I did start using this camera, I would set it up and just basically record straight video in the studio. Honestly, I found that time lapse was the way to go for that. I found that even if I did just take footage as a video, I ended up speeding it up anyway because a lot of reels that I wanted to create with the footage were fast-paced anyway. Consider using time-lapse for this camera. I have yet to set this up on top of my camera and record a time-lapse while the sunset's going on. I keep forgetting to do that. Again, photography first, but that would be something that is also on my list. Again, just to note with this camera, battery life is a thing. It will always be shorter than you expect. Consider plugging this in while you use it. And in terms of usability for this camera is really nice. I mean, they really put a lot of work into the user experience of this camera. The touchscreen works seamlessly. Also with the X4, they have nailed the touchscreen and the function. Nothing feels clunky, nothing feels wonky. You just basically swipe different directions to load up different settings, or load your videos to preview them in camera if you'd like. I really enjoy the function of this camera, even down to getting files off it. You press the on button when it's plugged in. It will give you an option to use it as a webcam or get files off it. Everything really works very well from a software side on this camera. In terms of areas for improvement, I do think that this camera works really well. There's really nothing that kills me about this camera. It would be nice if this whole thing was waterproof like I mentioned earlier. This part being waterproof is great, but maybe I want longer life out of it. Maybe I want a preview screen while I'm underwater. I would absolutely love it if this whole thing was waterproof. Also, it'd be really great if this camera had a removable battery. I'm not sure how possible that is due to there being a camera that pops in. I'm sure you lose a lot of space in here. Internal memory is not that much of a big deal for me. I've never really used this extensively when I was out and about. And again, the battery life is kind of tied to the internal storage. So when this thing dies, odds are you're not going over the allotted memory use. I guess it's kind of self-contained in that regard. If this did have a removable battery on the action pod, then obviously you would carry multiple with you. In that case, you would almost certainly need external storage so you can swap out the SD card as well. I guess a removable battery would open up a whole can of worms, but honestly, I really would like to see that, even if they didn't have the option for SD cards. I think a built-in 1/4-inch screw mount would be nice here, so we didn't have to always use the attachment, but it's not really the end of the world for me. I think the magnetic mount with clips works really well, so that's kind of here nor there. I think it would be nice. And before we wrap up, let me show you some additional footage that I took with this camera. In conclusion, between both the Go 3S and the X4, I found myself using the Go 3S way more. At least so far. I think largely it's because I like to do POV stuff, and to just simply run it back, this camera is just easy to use. It has superb daytime video quality, and nighttime is definitely usable as well. The versatility of this camera being in this pill form and the separate action pod is absolutely mind-blowing. It has pretty much endless possibilities. So make sure you're subscribed and stay tuned for a part 2 to this video featuring the Insta360 360 camera, the X4, X5 review. So let me know in the comments if you have the Insta360 Go 3S or if you have any questions about it. And with that being said, I'll catch you in the next video.